Don't forget to hit like on the video if you are enjoying the content. Leave a comment below on the video if you are so inclined to express your thoughts and opinions, or do me a solid and hit me up with a subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up with the content or just want to show your support. And yeah, let's play some fucking Guild Wars. Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Replay Guild Wars 2. So in the last episode, I guess we got our character made, we parked ourselves here, we got through our tutorial instance, etc. Our goal today is to actually create the look of this character, and this may take a little while for me. I will not put you through the entire thing, but I'm going to go through some of the things that I kind of think about while I am creating my characters and the look of them, etc. in order to kind of achieve the actual character that I'm trying to create. And I have a really good idea, as I've said, in my head about exactly what I want this character to look like, kind of how I want him to play up until I get my hands on Harbinger, what I'm going to do with him, etc. So we'll go ahead and we'll start that now. We will go to our home instance. Now, if you've never used your home instance, I will link a video by one of my favorite YouTube creators down in the description down below about how to use the home instance, what there is there, and some of the other things. So what we'll do at this point, bring up the map, and I'm actually going to go to the Grove. Now, the Grove is the capital city for the Sylvari. Every race, in addition to having a starting zone for the characters, also has a capital city. If you've never been to them, I highly suggest it. These are some of the better kind of cities created in MMORPGs, actually, I think. Just for my money anyways. I won't gush too much, but I think they're really, really well done. So go to this portal here, and this will take us to the Grove. Now, once we're in the Grove, we will take a few steps around and go to the home instance portal. And as I mentioned, every capital city has one of these home instance portals. So I am going to start making my way down to my home instance. Unlock some of these waypoints on the way. So for the Sylvari, our home instance is located right next to this Ronan's waypoint. And if you don't know why the waypoint is actually named that, I highly suggest you go do a little bit of wiki work and see what's going on. That's some of the better lore in the game. So when we step up to this little area here, it's asking us if we'd like to continue to the Dreamer's Terrace home, and we will say yes. Yes, I would absolutely love to do that. So now that we are in our home instance, this is a private little instance. This is basically kind of ghetto player housing, I guess is the best way to put it. You've got a little home instance here, and its purpose is to provide you with a small home. You can add some things to it. You can go ahead and do some achievements to kind of fill it out with some things there. You don't get the ability to, like in many other MMOs with their home instance, actually place items, etc. Everything here is just an unlock that appears in a set spot once you've gone ahead and unlocked it. So, kind of cool technology in a way. But what I'd like to do is just find a little place here that is in the light, and we will talk a little bit about this here at this point. When I create a Sylvari, I have some rules in my head about how I do it. And in fact, I actually do this with most of my characters. And we'll go to the character select screen here for a couple of seconds and take a quick look at this, because I think you'll get a very good idea of kind of what I get at while I'm making my characters. When I'm making an Asura, for example, I will define my character by what they do, so their job. And I think this is a very mouse-like thing to do, to be honest with you, is to have these set defined roles, and that's how they're defining their roles in their society. So obviously I have Nyx the Oracle, okay, I have Arsonist Pashi, I have Crusader Tuki, and I have War Master Newt. So that's kind of the philosophy behind when I make an Asura. I define them by what they do. When it comes to my Sylvari characters, I will define these characters by the plant they come from. So it's a completely different thing, but let me explain to that. A really good example here is Janeth, and Janeth here is my Sylvari, and my Sylvari Healing Tempest, to be specific. When I created her, I knew I wanted her to be a Healing Tempest, so what I actually did was went out and found reference pictures when I was creating the character of cactus flowers, of flowers in the desert. So if you kind of look at her hair, you get a good idea of where I was going with that. In that there was this idea of this character that in the middle of a dry, lifeless area was creating life. And that was the idea behind the purpose of the character in terms of her function in gameplay, as well as when I created her aesthetic. So I created her to look like this flower that was creating life in the desert, I guess is the best way to put it. So that is how I will define my Sylvari. So with that said, let's get back into game and go take a look at Connell. So now that we're back in game, let's talk about this character specifically and what my vision is. In my head, I'm thinking about a large felled tree in a snowbound forest, I guess is the best way to put it, with like bark and moss and frost, and I'm thinking about colors like blue, etc. I'm thinking about this strong character, and when I look at the way that Harbinger is going to interact with the character, he's going to have these little saps that he kind of sips at times for the elixirs, and that's kind of going to be his idea in my head. So what I'd like to do is kind of sketch this out. Up on your screen at this point, I'm going to put some reference images up, and they're going to be the ones that I'm using in a separate window while I'm actually creating the character. So I'm going to put these reference images up, give you guys kind of an idea. I spent a good hour or so looking for images across the internet, and the ones that I thought kind of evoked the feeling that this character was hopefully going to give when I had him done. So I'm going to get to work on that. My next step is to obviously pull this up here, and I am going to go into my inventory, and I'm going to grab my total makeover kit, which I mentioned in the last episode. And let's take a quick little look at this before we go on. I will point out a few of the differences. If we take a look at these little options here that have stars on them, these star options mean that these are options that are only available from this cash up item when we're creating our character. So it depends on how you feel about that. Is that a little, quote unquote pay to win? Well, not really, but it kind of sucks. I don't know how you feel about that. I personally don't think it's a big deal, because as a veteran, I will see these total makeover kits from time to time, particularly if I'm doing something like running my weekly blackline key farm, and that's something we'll get into in a later video, probably not too far away, hopefully. And that's really why I take this step. I don't spend a whole lot of time in the original character creator, and why I actually, when I'm making a character, expect that a total makeover kit is actually going to be part of the whole experience. And there we have it. So my next absolute step here is, if you're one of my friends, you know what I'm doing right now. I'm going to take 5 minutes, and then I'm going to come back here and get to work on this. So let's see what happens. Yeah, I think I'm good with that. I think I'm good with that. I really like the way that's all come together. Like it with the without the armor piece on over the eyes. I like it with. I think that's fantastic. I think that's going to be exactly what we're looking for going forward for this character. So there we have it. Always a big moment. Let's just go ahead and hit this make changes button and light this candle. Are you sure? Hell yes, I'm sure. And there he is. Wow. Let's go stand in the light for a second and see what we got. Yeah, I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of that. All right. So let's get out of here. Take our next step. So character customization has been accomplished and achieved. We have unlocked Coolness Factor 5. I'm pretty happy with this. And our next question becomes, hey, what are we going to do now? Guild Wars 2 is super funny this way because I'm level 2, I'm out of the tutorial, and there is absolutely nothing telling me what to do. And in fact, you know, your regular new player experience, you're going to be sitting there on a map you've never been in. You're not going to really have too much idea of what to do other than just to run around and kind of explore. And that really is kind of what we're getting at with this game. One of my favorite MMO streamers is a character named DocGotGame, and I will put a link to his stream down in the description of this video down below. And he actually came up with one of my favorite quotes about Guild Wars 2, and that is, Guild Wars 2 is the theme park MMO that plays like a sandbox. And what that means is it doesn't really spoon feed you at this point. What it's going to do is it's going to depend on you to go out and start leveling yourself, and it's going to then every 10 levels feed you a few story instances to progress your story, and then after that's done, it's going to leave you again to level yourself. Now, that is a good thing for the most part. Most people, however, may be really kind of used to their MMO pushing them a little harder. And I look at games that are significantly story focused, unlike Guild Wars 2. I'm talking about games like Star Wars The Old Republic. I'm talking about games like The Secret World, where the story is going to gate your progress. That is not the case in this game. And I can't tell you how many times I've kind of been there reading, you know, new players saying, well, what am I supposed to be doing now? I have no idea. I have no clue. And the short answer to that question is whatever you want. It's really that simple. So we're going to start our leveling journey at this point, which is primarily what this whole series is all about. And if you go back to what I said in the first video, I talked about how we had the ability to go to any of the 5 starting areas in the game. So any of these starting maps for any of the races, and go and just explore them. We don't have to go to the Sylvari specific area. We don't have to go to the Asura area. We can go to whichever ones of these we want. And so what I'm going to choose is I'm going to choose Ascalon. And I'll get into why here in a moment. The first thing that we're going to do, though, we're going to pull up our map, and we are going to the Smokestead waypoint right here, which is in the Plains of Ashford. All right, so here we are, Plains of Ashford. It's a beautiful thing. I actually really enjoy this map in terms of starter maps in this game. I'm going to speak to you guys a few moments about the absolute reason why I will choose to level in Ascalon versus any other of the zones in the game. There is a very simple reason for this. I know I may get some people's hackles up about it, and I actually know that it's a slightly inefficient choice, and I'll explain to you guys why this is a little bit. But the first thing that I'll do here is we're going to go ahead and just take a look at the map. Now, as a new player, this is pretty much what it'll look like to you. All right. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and jump on a character who is 100% world complete, and we're going to take a look at the world map, so just give me a moment to do that. So looking at the map again on a character who is 100% map complete, one of the things you may notice if you contrast the Ascalon areas with some of the other areas of the game is a very noticeable lack of underwater content. There's a little bit of underwater stuff here and there, but I find there's a lot less underwater content in the Ascalon areas. Now, how do I feel about that? You know, if you're one of those people who really just goes crazy for the fact that there's underwater combat in this game and you really enjoy it, then by all means make another choice. Because the fact is, if you want to level quickly in this game, the easiest way to do that is via underwater combat. I'll talk to you guys about why that is in a later video. We'll get into the actual experience mechanics of the game. Just for now, understanding that there are some methods of XP gain in this game that are dramatically different than others, and that one of the quickest ways for you to gain experience in this game is actually to do a lot of underwater combat, and we'll leave it at that for the moment. But me personally, where I stand on the underwater combat in this game is I don't particularly enjoy it. I find it's one of those novelties that is done better in this game than probably any other MMO, but at the same time, I just don't think that that's really a highlight of its accomplishment. The best way to put it. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the underwater combat in this game. I will acknowledge, first off, it is probably better than the underwater combat in just about any other MMO. I enjoy the underwater combat better in this game than I enjoy the underwater combat in Witcher 3, to be honest with you. I'm not a general underwater combat enthusiast. I've never found a game that really did it right. So I'm not going to go off too much about that. I tend to avoid the underwater combat, so I prefer the Ascalon maps because I find that they do have a lot less underwater hearts on them. This map specifically, I don't believe has actually one heart that you can do a bunch of underwater stuff. Everyone else has some options. Well, that's not true with the Silvari area that actually has, I think, 3 hearts that are hard gated by underwater combat, and that's just my personal choice. So I'm going to do this in Ascalon, where I find that there's less underwater combat. That's just that one of it. The other thing is I really love the aesthetic of the Ascalon maps with their fall kind of, colors and everything. I really enjoy that. It's part of where I fell in love initially with this game, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to play in these areas. And that really is that. So at this point, what do we do? Where do we go? What do we want to do? Here's the thing about Guild Wars is it doesn't matter what we do, we will get experience just from walking around. I can kill these ambient creatures all I want. I can go and participate in dynamic events. If we look up here, there's a dynamic event happening with this orange circle on our map. And that's one of the best ways, if we are playing the game to level quickly, to go ahead and get those levels, is to participate in those dynamic events. It's not the most efficient way. We'll talk about more efficient ways to level. But I think up until level 5, this is the area where you just kind of roll around, enjoy the game, figure out what your character is doing, build up some muscle memory on auto attacks. And as you see, our XP bar down at the bottom just from doing this is filling up relatively quickly. We're just about to hit level 3, at which point we'll get a few more unlocks. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit a few of these guys, and we will get back to you when I'm done. Wow. I'm glad this AI is so specific and sophisticated. You just keep letting me smack on you. That'll do. So there you have it. We just turned level 3 and are halfway through almost level 3. The XP gain in this game, particularly at the low levels, when you're just rolling around and just kind of doing as you please, is actually pretty quick. It's not exactly what you would call a grindy game. So go out here, find a few more things to kill, and we'll take another step. So our level 3 reward is a new bag. Let's go in here. One of the things that will be giving me a hard time, I'm sure, as I'm playing through this time is my bag space, but we will make do. We are, of course, just leveling. So all I'm going to be doing here at this point is just getting to level 5. I'm really not too concerned. As you see, the more you just walk around this game, the XP just comes in. It doesn't just reward you from doing quests. It doesn't just reward you from, you know, killing mobs. It does have a decent reward structure in place for those of us who just like to explore environments, which is one thing that I really enjoy doing. So one of my favorite little parts of this game when I first started it up was these vista points. We'll take a look at this. In this game, we have the ability to walk up to these points on our map that are shown off by these little triangles. When we get here, we hit view, and we get a nice little cutscene of the environment. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm a big fan of some of these. Some of these are really just spectacular, spectacular moments in the game, but I'm not going to be looking at a whole lot of these at this point. As you can imagine, I've kind of seen them all before. So what I am going to do here is just continue to grind for a few minutes until I get to level 5, and then we'll take our next step. What do we have here? It's the dodge tutorial, guys. It's a really good idea that they made this so important. I want that chest. No, really, I want it. Give it to me! Wow, it actually let me walk right through it. Gee, I wonder why people don't learn to dodge.
Look at my talent grow.
Look at my talent grow. Okay, that's it. I hit level 5, which I thought was going to be the goal here. So I'm just going to pull up my fast travel, head back here to the Smokestead waypoint, and say, hey, that was fantastic. Let's come back for more super soon. Seriously, next time, I think what we'll do here is talk a little bit more about leveling. We'll talk a little bit about making your characters and skill points and stuff like that. But I'm really, really happy how far we got. So I am just going to say, hey, thank you guys very much for watching. I'm going to remind you to have fun in game, min-max your real life. We'll see you next time.